What is initiation? What is culture? What skills and tools do we need during a time of transition? This is Darren Silver, and welcome to The Return.
Welcome, everyone, to the Return podcast. Today we have Trevor Spring, and deeply grateful for this man in my life and all the work that he does in the world, and how he's blessed my life in so many ways. I met Trevor 6-7 years ago, something like this. 7 years ago. Yeah, 7 years ago we met, and saw each other at least once or twice a year. And then there's a few years we didn't see each other, and we got to see each other again last year. But Trevor's been working with youth for a long time, in a lot of different capacities. And so I really look forward to talking about rites of passage and youth with him today. Welcome, Trevor.
Thanks, Darren. So excited to be in this space with you, and to look back of all of our first, laying the groundwork of our relationship through all the men's work containers, and that's where we spend most of our time, right? And out in these fairly wild places doing men's work, and just continuing our connection and friendship here. So really grateful to be in on this return journey with you. It's super exciting.
Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days. What are you creating?
Well, it's been a journey as life is, and I think a lot of people are in journeys right now in different ways. So I've been on this journey since I started mentoring boys. It was right before we met, about 8 months before you and I met. I had started mentoring boys I started the Boys to Men Mentoring Oahu chapter, and that changed my life, changed my sense of embodiment, my self-awareness, my identity, my sense of purpose and passion, and effectiveness in the world, like ability to make meaningful impact. And so I've been focusing on that since then, 2017, and moved out of Boys to Men, started Sons Youth when COVID hit, and ran Sons Youth, which was partnered with Sacred Sons for 4 years. And then we moved out of that partnership at the end of last year, and I've been working on Rooted Futures, which is my own nonprofit, partnered with 4 other men that I brought in. So I'm the director of this nonprofit organization called Rooted Futures, and we mentor 9 to 19-year-old boys, and we bracket those age groups. So people are kind of like, "Whoa, 9 to 19, that's a big span," because there's such different things happening developmentally. The tasks or challenges or things that are relevant in the younger bracket versus the older age group are totally different things. So there's some spaces together and some spaces separate. So I'm working on really landing that in a different way, because I've done that before with Boys to Men in schools, doing rites of passage weekends on the Big Island, in school mentoring groups, and fundraising, offering the program totally free to schools. And then Sons Youth was mostly like from revenue, and then providing scholarships, and then doing some fundraising. We provided 60% of scholarships to families in our programs for over those 4 years, virtual and in-person programs. So it was more like retreat camps, and then online programs twice a week, 8-week containers, working on foundations of self-awareness, healthy manhood, etc. And then I would do all the mentor training for all these organizations. So coming into Rooted Futures, I've got this great crew of men. I've got a lot of miles under my belt, and like what works, what doesn't work, what makes impact, what's spinning our wheels, how do we fund this thing, how do we reach our like core demographic, people that this really means a lot to. So yeah, just bringing all like my experience to this new moment, and yeah, it's really exciting moment. We're actually just about to launch our first official cohort starting April 7th, 2025. And I could talk more about the program, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Is it a cohort? It's online, in person, a mixture of both?
Yeah, so it's our core programming is online because we want to be able to reach youth everywhere and have geography not be inhibiting. And the cool thing, the thing I think is really cool about that really clicked on for me when COVID started was like, oh, wow. I mean, the way it happened is I ran a local Hawaii group because COVID hit. We couldn't go into schools anymore. And I told my, bosses at Boys to Men, like, I think we should run virtual programming because I had run virtual containers for Sacred Sons, for men's containers. Mm-hmm. And I knew that Zoom space would work. And everyone in the organization was like, that won't work. And I ran one group statewide for Hawaii, and we had like 22 boys show up. And the connection was so impactful. Kids from the projects on Oahu were with kids from kind of the boonies on Big Island, or, more affluent neighborhoods on the windward side here. And I mean, it's just really impactful. I came out of that and was like, wow, this is real. This is so much potential. So I've focused on that since, but then having complementary in-person programs. Like we've run with Sons Youth, we ran a bunch of consistent programming, quarterly programming in Los Angeles and Oahu. And so Rooted Futures, we're still new. We're just coming out of the gate. So we want to have much more like embedded, consistent local programming. Mm-hmm. We have a real like ecocentric focus, and immersing in nature and like remembering a lot about who we are when we're in contact with the natural world, that we will be working with while we're with the boys online. But, we're going to start doing some more in-person camps and local events and those kind of things. Yeah. So it's both, but right now it's virtual, but we're going to have some things this summer.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that makes it accessible to a lot of people, not being limited by proximity.
Yeah. I guess one more thing I'll say about that is think about when maybe, I don't know if you can relate, but when I was a boy, I didn't know how to get outside of my little box of my family and my classroom and my brothers or my sports teams. And when I look back, my main issue is I didn't have anyone step into that field that really wowed me, where I was really like, whoa, this is different. And who could look at me and be like, I see you, man. I see what you're facing. I see your gifts, and I want to spend time with you so I can like reflect those to you.
Sure.
I'm like, the impact that would have made. Someone who I really respected to be like, wow, this guy's interesting. I'm going to listen, or I'm going to open up. And that's what we provide, because we can come in from anywhere. And it's just like the best thing to experience boys be open and be curious and kind of like, huh? Who is this guy? This is interesting. I'm open to this. Because getting young men, teenagers to be interested and open and engaging can be a challenge sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember 2 teachers in my adolescence that I felt really saw me. And I wanted to open up with. But by and large, I didn't really get that till my 20s. Yeah. And it was when that recognition, when that mentorship came, it was like a deepest nourishment. It was so nourishing. I didn't even know that I was starving in that way until it came.
Right.
Yeah. Um, you kind of already started to answer with recognition. Um, but what do teenage boys really need that they're not getting um, from the society at large, from the school system, from sports? I'm sure there are things that they are getting, but what are the pieces that they're not getting that are really important that you all bring forth?
Yeah, great question. Um, yeah, and I want to start by saying, like, like what you just said, like boys are getting a lot, and parents are showing up and really trying hard.
Yeah,
And, parents are like, we just had a call with one of the mothers of a boy who's in our program, um, last week, and just she was sharing all the things that she was doing, all the things that she was tracking, and I was like, oh, wow, it just gives me so much strong reassurance just to
yeah,
see all that you're paying attention to. It's so much, and there's still so many aspects where these boys aren't engaged, aren't feeling met, and I think that's just like a a consistent thing is that like cultures all over the world knew that when boys hit teenage years, there needs to be mentors beyond parents. It's not an indication of lack in the parents'
sure.
uh, roles, and that it's just like inherently biological, and like there's this like expansion necessary. So I think what boys need at that place is they need expansion, and what does that look like for each one is always the question. What does that look like? And I think often what that looks like is they need someone to model. They need an adult to model presence. And I think it's impactful for boys to be with women and men, and to experience an adult nervous system that's regulated and grounded and like able to really listen and really take a whole person in, ask questions, be interested, reflect things that they appreciated or heard, or gifts that they see. Like, hey man, I see you doing this, and I see you doing it consistently, and I just want to reflect to you how impactful it is for me to see you do that. To hear that. As one of my friends says, like, just get some attaboys, from somebody that they respect. So yeah, I think it's just like a present nervous system, a present awareness, and a grounded nervous system consistently over time. And I think just with the way that school is, it's like systematized, or it doesn't allow for teachers to be unburdened enough to be able to provide that level of presence, because there's 20 to 30 youth in a classroom with one teacher or a TA and a teacher, and the bells and the scheduling and the demands of the school system. It's hard for teachers to provide that. It's hard for coaches to provide it. It's hard for aunties and uncles to provide it. So we bring that consistency, and I've gotten to see that, and I've gotten this feedback because there's a couple guys in my program who are mentors with other organizations, and they're like, man, the thing that you guys do differently is consistent attunement,
Yeah.
and presence to these boys, and it changes everything. And I've never seen another program that does it as well as you guys. And I'm like, wow, that's great feedback. I think you're right. We do that really, really well. And I could talk a bit about how we run the space and keep it really like equitable and really safe, and really where it encourages or invites openness and playfulness and mutual exploration. It's just the best. So I could get into like the nitty gritty of that and talk about how we train mentors to hold that space as well. Um, yeah, it's just awesome. I don't know if I need to go into more depth with that, but yeah, I think that's what boys need.
Yeah.
And I could talk for a while about why they need it. But I mean, I think I could just do real quick. I could just say like, developmentally, biologically, boys need that because they need an expansion out from their family unit, from their nuclear family, and their sense of them coming into themselves, and reflections outside their family unit to reflect them, so they can receive them, and go, wow, who I am this. Oh wow, I'm this too. Oh wow, I'm this too. Wow, I'm this too. They can see themselves more clearly. But then if we're looking at modern culture and video game culture and the sense of boys of not feeling useful and not feeling appreciated, not feeling authentic, not having anyone model what authenticity is,
Sure.
um,
Or
you know,
vulnerability.
or vulnerability, asking for help.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I feel like boys end up being really isolated, and their selfhood is just like really atrophied, and there's all this risk, um, keeping them from expanding out, and just like, well, I'd rather be alone. I just like doing my own thing. I like playing video games. It really nourishes me. Um, but then we get boys in our camp last summer out in the desert, and one boy raised his hand and was like, I would actually rather, I'm so glad that you have my phone for 4 days. I would so much rather be here without my phone. I'm realizing how bad I feel when I'm just like addicted to my phone every day. And I was like, okay, cool, that's great. Let's pause. Who else feels that way? Like over 80% of the hands in the room of 60 boys,
Right.
over 80% of we counted. We're like, okay, what percentage is this? Because this is important. And I said, how many of you guys would actually tell your parents that? And like less than half of the hands went up, because they don't want people to know that they don't like what they're addicted to. They don't actually like it. It doesn't actually fulfill them.
Sure.
But yeah, just reminding them, giving them that experience that like, oh, that's not actually who I am or what I love. I just do it because I'm not engaged. I don't feel useful. I don't feel powerful. I don't feel curious and in touch with myself and excited.
Mm-hmm.
So I just go there because it's easy.
Because it's easy and it's predictable.
Yep.
I just think about my interactions with youth these days. There's often a real hidden overwhelm, um, looking into the world and everything that's happening. Yeah, and I can understand, like, really the desire, or the impulse to go, I'm just going to be on my phone. It's a whole lot safer than to look out and imagine this world. And so I imagine, when I think about rites of passage in that that adolescent time, there's also skills learned, um, to step into, and you've spoken of some of them, um, about the skills that they learn. Now, for me, I often get like a little caught up, in my own personal practice, but also my academic studies in anthropology, and mythology. Like I can go back to what rites of passage were. Were very real, orchestrated encounters with death, um, that were possible. And so when I've worked with youth these days, um, which is not much anymore, but I always get caught in that, like, well, they kind of need to wander about the forest with nothing for 4 days. Um, and that can kind of thwart the traction of what's necessary today, what they need today. And yet there's still an encounter with risk that needs to happen. Not risk for risk's sake, but to understand their edge and their capacity and their true strength. And so I'm curious, is there risk involved, and what does that look like? Yeah.
This is so good. Yeah. Well, I just love riffing in this space with you about this topic. It's just so good. I
Yeah.
really like I've said offline, I really hope we get to work together with youth. And yeah.
Me too, man.
So the
It's not if, it's when.
yeah. It's coming.
It's been cooking for years.
Yeah. Behind even though we didn't know it at the time, in the beginning. So it's so great. I've had men in men's containers come up to me and be like, "Oh, so what are you doing with all those boys out there? Are you sending them out in the woods, with no protection, and send them out there to fend for themselves for days?" And like that, even if we just did that, like that risk piece you're talking about, wander in the woods, and we don't hold them in a context where they feel like the risk is worth it.
Right.
Then it's like it becomes let's say that I have a son and I send him out, and I'm like, oh, I need to send him out on this expedition to test him and for him to find his inner resources. And then he comes back to his life and he's back in his like gaming chair, and light up keyboard and LED lights and headphones and his friends on whatever video game of the moment. And is that like push out into what the parents wanted for him? It's just like another moment of the parents imposing what they want on him, what they want for him, and becomes this kind of like another like moment of him feeling unseen or unmet. So I think the biggest thing is that boys need to be immersed in a consistent community. Like I was just talking about, this is why we do what we do, of men who are like, dude, I'm just here for you. I'm here to not tell you what to do. And so we use these acronyms: don't frap, don't fix. Don't treat them like they need to be fixed, because you send the message that they're broken.
Mm-hmm.
Don't rescue them, because you send them the message that they can't help themselves. Don't give advice, don't advise, because even if boys ask for advice, I still do not give advice.
Yeah.
Well, let me reflect back to you what you just said and then ask you again. And they always come up with their own answers. And then don't project what I want or my story or my truth of what they're going through, and get curious. And so we listen, affirm, ask, model, praise. And so like, that's how we don't impose our judgments, our desires for them, our story onto them. So we don't superimpose that on them. We don't tell them what to do. And they can be in a space where they're met like that. And then they're actually intrinsically motivated to take the risk of opening up and being connected. That they're not going to be diminished or made fun of or teased or bullied. They're not going to be controlled by the adults. So we create that kind of space for the boys, and that's the first risk. And I've said that to men when they ask me, like, what extreme thing are you going to have them do? And I'm like, we need to rein it back in so they feel like they genuinely trust us.
Yeah.
And their first like gap that they cross is vulnerability and openness and sustained connection. And then when we can establish that, then there's like a context for them to take any future risks in. And so I think that's what our program does really well, is that we create a place where there's sustained safety, curiosity, openness, playfulness. Men show up over the long term. And boys feel safe. They feel seen. They feel welcomed. They feel stoked to be there. I mean, I've had kids, this kid that would come to our calls, he would be on a call in the orthodontist chair, like laid back in the orthodontist chair. One, because he didn't want to miss the call. And two, because he was proud of the fact that he was on the call and he wanted like the orthodontist to see what he was doing because he thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's it, for a kid to think that it's that cool.
Yeah.
That he's
Yeah.
in this connective space, so anyway, I just like love I've got so many like experiences and stories like that where the kids are just stoked to be there. And so we create an environment where they're stoked to be there and they're proud of being part of it.
Yeah.
And they're proud of like how it's impacted them. And they're like, this is awesome. I love this. I love being part of this. And then we can look at future risks. Like we did a canoe trip last year.
Right. Yeah.
Kevin Johnson and I did a canoe trip out at Boundary Waters.
Sure.
6-day trip with 6 youth. And the challenges that come naturally by carrying a 45-pound pack and a 45-pound canoe, 90 pounds on your body, and walking up to 1.25 miles on a portage between lakes over 6 days. Like, we don't have to facilitate that. It just shows up. Okay, guys, let's make camp. And they do their make camp thing, or break camp, or make dinner, or put your tent up, or break it down. And they were all in for 6 days. So then they're willingly stepping into those challenges because they want to be part of what we're doing. They want to grow. They trust us. They trust that they're going to grow, and we're not just going to make them just like climb a mountain and then jump through hoops because I want to believe that he's getting stronger in himself, but I'm just doing exercises in futility. It's like, this is something that's meaningful that I'm with you on.
Yeah.
So I continue to be curious about the best way to initiate boys and to hold rites of passage for modern youth. And I think that first step of vulnerability, that first risk, is being sustained connection.
Sure.
And then the next risks, I'm still curious about like the best ways to do that. And I think we're uncovering it, but I'm not in a rush to say like, oh, I know how to do this.
Sure. Yeah.
At all, especially because every kid's different.
Yeah. When I think about what you're saying, part of adolescence is to find the edge, to push the boundaries. And oftentimes, in the absence of safety or trust or consistency, those boundaries get displayed externally with, I'm going to drive 90 miles an hour down the road. I'm going to do something that doesn't have any real attunement to it, to myself or anybody around me. But what I hear you saying is like, with trust, the implicit desire to identify one's edge and meet it, then the boundaries get pushed more internally with a whole lot more choicefulness. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Like it's intrinsically like, wow, I want to push this edge. I want to carry this canoe because I want to. And that's a huge difference.
Yeah, because it's their choice.
It's their choice.
It's their choice. And I just believe like a human biology or human system is if I'm gonna be, I intrinsically want this expansion, I'm gonna go about it completely differently than if someone tells me I need to do it.
Yeah.
And so, I did so many reckless things as a kid. I could just tell, I'm sure you did too. Like, just I could tell you so many stories about the boneheaded stuff that was what I needed to, felt like what I needed to do at that time. It was so reckless. And I think there's often a desire to push edges. And, we're talking about canoeing and that kind of thing, but like, there's a bunch of boys in our program that are living independently for the first time.
Mm.
At 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have young men who are now 20, 21, 22, who've gone through the mentor training, but we're thinking about creating like a new next layer program for those young men, because it's still like a super potentiated, not much care and support structures there for boys of that age. So, living independently, getting their first job, buying their first or being given their first car, like having their own real possessions. Like, this is my experience. I get to decide that there's a desire to go into that space. And there's there's a lot of boys that don't want to go into that space where they're 17 and they haven't gotten their driver's license, and because they don't want to, and I would say that there's likely fear there.
Yeah.
Or fear of risk not being worth it, or humiliation, or something like that. So how do we get them to buy in and want to take the risk to make these expansions, and then to actually explore what their limits actually are? Like, I want to get to know where my limits or my edges are. I want to get to know what my capacity, because I think there's an inherent piece of natural desire in all humans, especially males, in my experience, to test my edges and know what my capacity is.
Yeah.
To know what I can carry. And some are more supported into doing that. Like, I was raised in a family that was very much like, you do hard things all the time. There's a lot of exercise. There's a lot of entrepreneurial hard work, running restaurants in the Atlantic City boardwalk, working super long shifts as a 12-year-old, with 13, 14, 15 with my family, where like there was a lot of pride around that kind of work ethic. So I was really supported to have that kind of desire to test myself and see where, as a wrestler and all these things. But like, how do we make it so that the boys want to test themselves in ways that are meaningful to them? Mm-hmm. I think that's just like the coolest thing, when we can get that accomplished.
Yeah. How are the parents involved?
They're normally the ones who hear about it and get interested, and they want it for their son. There's a lot of single moms. Right. And so they'll normally reach out to us, and this is one of the main things. In my first program, when we were doing in-school mentoring groups, the parents weren't involved. And then we did like a beach cleanup event, and I got to meet a bunch of the parents, and I was like, wow, they don't even know who I am. Right. They've like never even heard of this program. And their son has come in and been super vulnerable with us. And I've realized what a paradigm shift this is from his home, family, regular life. And like, God, it was so deflating. Like, wow, we're never going to get any meaningful traction if these kids don't have anyone else in their life reflecting these things, this way of relating to them. So Sons Youth, we did a bit better with the 8-week virtual cohorts. We would hold a parents' night at the end. And it was always just like, I would cry every time. Mentors would be like, oh, this is incredible. Like, I can't believe how much this ties it all together. So what the parents do is, number one, just support their son in a way that's not forceful, that's caring, that's invitational, to get them involved in our program. And a lot of parents are like, okay, I'm in, this sounds great. Now, how do I get him involved? Because I think he might be resistant to his mom wanting him to do another thing. And so I normally say, just, why don't you set up a conversation between me and your son? And we can talk for 5 or 10 minutes, and I will invite him, tell him a little bit about it, and invite him in. So the parents are responsible for a shift in their role, from maybe like a helicopter parent and like a teacher, to shifting their role and their sense of their own identity as a parent. Because my kids are 10 and 12, almost 13, and my stepkids are older, 18 and 24. And I've seen my role shift in relation to them. Like as soon as I think I need to be a certain way, my role needs to shift. Like they need something different. And I've done poor to good jobs at that, the whole spectrum at different places um, along the journey. But I think parents are responsible for shifting their role to be a guide.
Yeah.
Get out of the judge. I'm going to judge you, and then I'm going to tell you what you need to do. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. Why did you do that? Come on, you have to do this. Like, go do this now. Like, where you're telling them, or you're using punishment or reward to get them to do the things you want, to get compliance. And then, which can be tempting as a parent. I'm tempted all the time when my kids won't get ready for bed or clean up.
Of course.
Of
course.
And I'm still working on, as a parent, I'm not perfect. So I want to say that to parents too, as like, I'm still not perfect in my parenting. It's, I hold this space for boys, to really be with them in this way, but it's hard as a parent to not do that. But to shift your role and to be more of a guide and to be more of like a side by side, looking at things with them. And this is where we encourage parents to really learn with us. So the thing we're doing differently at Rooted Futures is that we have parents containers multiple times a month for parents to, number one, be supported, because a lot of parents are under-resourced.
Yeah.
So number one, work on your own stuff, parents. Look at your own childhood emotional wounds, traumas. Start taking responsibility for your own work, so it's not just passed on to your kids. Number one. Number two, look at this role shift and try to be a mentor, a guide with your child, with your teenage boy or girl, and learn to implement the don't frap, don't fix, rescue, advise, project. Be curious, ask them questions. If they mess up, make space for them to mess up, and be compassionate. Don't be like permissive, but be compassionate and look at, wow, okay, so you got suspended. Okay, so how's that feel? Hold space for them. Don't just dive in and share your, like, how could you do that? It's more of like, okay, I want to tell them what a dumb move that was, but I'm going to hold back and I'm going to take a breath and say, wow, how does that feel? How do you feel about that? And guarantee the kid is going to go, huh? Huh? You're just really, okay, you want to know how I feel. So anyway, not being the same kind of punishment and reward parent, and learn to hold space for your kid so he can open up to you when he makes a mistake and, gets involved in whatever. I've had youth who ran away from home or had guns in the home or got involved in drugs. And, I've seen a lot of heavy stuff with the boys I've been mentoring for the last, 7 years. And, to learn to hold that with them and don't come down on them, because the punishment, the punitive style of the way like the prison system works and the criminal justice system and all that, it doesn't work to deepen your bond with your son. It doesn't work to support his self-image, to support his self-confidence. So how can you guide him deeper into and underneath the choices that he's made? And because if you ultimately want him to have a longer leash and learn to use his wings, he's going to have to fall a few times, and he might do stupid things. He might crash his car. I'd crash my car senior year, like he might do these things where you're like, God, but he might stay out past curfew or whatever it is. How can you be curious and hold it with him and support him to go underneath it and find out what like unmet needs or emotions or struggles are there, and learn to hold space for your son without being reactive or fixing, rescuing, giving advice, or projecting.
Yeah, I love that acronym. Fixing, rescuing, giving advice, or projecting. It's so powerful. So powerful for parents.
And it's hard.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, Everybody raise your hand. Were you raised by being frapped all the time? Raise your hand if so. Yep. Because that's what like adults think is good adulting. I am supposed to tell the younger generation what to do. And it's actually like not at all true, because it doesn't build trust. It doesn't build a sense of autonomy. It doesn't, it sends a message that I don't believe that you can find your own inner resources. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what you want. You don't have the capacity. You can't be trusted. And that's what the message we're implicitly sending to boys all the time. And then we wonder why they don't trust themselves or have the self-confidence that we want them to have.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, part of the role shift that I'm hearing is supporting young boys in a parental role, supporting them in their own self-discovery, mentoring
100%.
their own self-discovery, really giving it to them in the sense of, how was that for you? Or what are you feeling? Or what did you learn? What are you noticing about the consequences? I'll give them implicitly a sense of, I trust that you can find this on your own. Yeah. Incredibly important. And it's a skill that's not, I would say, ingrained culturally. Mentoring, being able to deeply listen, to be attuned, those are all skills that need a lot more empowering and practice.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I dig that you're spending time with the parents.
Oh man.
The most intense time for me of working with youth is when I was a guide for wilderness therapy, which is a little bit of a different context. I mean, the program I worked for, every boy was ordered by the courts there to be there. They had a choice often. It was like a couple years in juvenile detention or 90 days in the wilderness. And, the kids that were there chose it. I did have one kid after 3 days be like, I'm out. I want a comfortable bed. I'm out, like, not doing this. And that was the most consistent and longest time that I was working with youth, which is, gosh, I don't even know, 15 years ago. And still work with youth here and there, but mostly it's adults. Just remember those moments when there are like these magic moments where the land, climbing the mountain, it took place. The kid was resistant to everything for 45 days. And that morning he'd wake up, he'd be kicking his pack, and I'm not doing this. And then something would happen in the course of that day. And there would be a shift. And it was often that shift, how I can talk about it, is like, they wanted to live. They like, they wanted, not that they wanted to die before, but that they really wanted to go, wait a second, I want to participate. I want to participate in life as opposed to fighting it the whole time. And wilderness therapy is a little bit of an intense scene.
Thanks for doing that.
It's like a war zone sometimes. It's just like
triage.
Yeah.
Right.
That's one thing I was thinking of, man. I was also thinking of, when people come to work with me, and again, this is adults. Sometimes people will call and just say, hey, man, I want to do this on my own. I want to go out in the wilderness for 5 days and do it by myself. And, I'm like, my response is, hey, whether you do it with me or not, I advise you have somebody there that's present. Because we're too close to our own experience, that we may not see the gems of what we really experienced out there. And to have a guide or someone there that can reflect back and mirror what it is you're experiencing is essential, even if it's a friend. And I'm just hearing that, like, how important that is for youth as well. And even as adults, that can be ingrained, that someone thinks that they can still do it on their own. And I'm imagining with Rooted Futures, part of the magic is that it's in a community, that they're hearing others' perspectives, that they're witnessing other boys, their peers, and that it continues to build this culture, this of resilience and of strength.
It really does. I mean, it's like, it's pretty incredible, like, to see, you know, these young men who have been with us for 4 years, when they've gone from like 12 to 16 or 13 to 17 or 14 or 15 to 19, or got a few who started at 18 and they're mentors now. And they're just such epic young men. And that's actually one of the things I want to talk about. We have what's called the hearth calls. And that's our whole community, mentors, parents, and youth coming together. And so we've been running this beta since November, and we haven't been charging. We've just been keeping all the youth with us and just like, hey, whoever wants to keep coming in, let's do it. And we've just been like beta testing all these containers and getting all our back end and our nonprofit established and all that. But the first hearth call that we ran with youth and parents and mentors there the whole time, because the parents containers that we used to do at the end of the 8-week cohorts, it would be an hour and a half with the parents and then 30 minutes with the youth at the end. They would check in and share some things, and everybody be like, oh, cool, it's great, we get to hear them talk. But this container, where everyone was together the whole time, the level of depth that the young men were able to go to in the presence of the adults and the parents and the mentors was like, I'm like, oh my God, I've always wanted the outside world, the parents, to see the kind of wisdom that these kids have in our containers. Because I don't think most people in the world have a sense that that kind of wisdom is inside of kids of this age.
Sure.
But these boys are, even if they're 13, they are wise and they are self-aware and they are attuned and they have perspective that a lot of adults don't have because they're so in their life, so close with their own life. And those containers give adults the ability to experience the youth and the wisdom that's there. And it's pretty incredible. So I just wanted to mention that because that was just like coming up for me. But this piece of that you were saying with like the youth watching other young men or other mentors have self-inquiry or push their edges in their life and go out and get their first job, or ask a girl out, or just these stories that are of like, how do you do that? I'm afraid of doing that. Like, I don't have I didn't have a lot of guidance going into college. I think I would have made different choices on how I did that whole process. And if I had someone who was really like with me and asking me questions, and so this having a guide along or having someone else to talk about their experience that mirrors my own, that makes me go, oh, okay, well, where am I at in relation to that? It just happens in these group mentoring containers. And that's part of why I'm really grateful to Boys to Men mentoring, because this is where I really learned the impact of this for boys, because they get to develop all these different facets of themselves by witnessing others and kind of being like, oh, wow, I have that in me. I have that awareness, or I have that desire, or I have that gift too, or that strength. Or I don't have that, but my gift is really like this. Wow. Okay, cool. I'm strong here. Not there, but I'm strong here. I could develop that. So that group mentoring process is just alchemically, it's just like so potentiated. There's so much potential in it. Just waiting to be tapped. It's wild. Yeah. And the idea with this container is one of the things we're doing differently with Rooted Futures is that it's a year-round container. And one of our one of our guys, this is myself and the other 4 co-founders, 5 of us. One of the men is an Animas Valley deep diver, and he's a Wild Mind certified facilitator. And so he's bringing the Animas Valley, Bill Plotkin world into our youth work.
Sure.
And merging with the curriculum that I've worked up with Sons Youth and that Brett's bringing in from his past youth work.
All right.
And
Is Brett part of the 4 guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And he had created this whole curriculum around storytelling and just all these really, really cool things, all these different archetypes and that he had never launched. And so we're pulling pieces of that. And then this curriculum from Sons Youth, where the 8 weeks was like telling your own story, 2 weeks of embodied emotions. Week 4 was integrity. Week 5 is puberty, sex, and romance. Week 6 is communication, listening, and relationships. Week 7 was ikigai, or your reason for being in the world, and then core values, and then the life you want to live outside of this, beyond this container. So that was like the Sons Youth framework. So that was what I had created. So we're bringing that in, and we're using that throughout our curriculum, along with the Wild Mind stuff, along with Brett's curriculum. And so it's meant to be this like container that moves alongside boys and parents, these families, so they have a place that they can reliably go to go into things, be supported to reflect on things. And what I like to say is they have a place where they can go to harvest the gifts from the lessons that they learned. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm 17 and I get a girl pregnant and I'm in that situation, or maybe it's like, okay, I made this big life choice and I need a space to look at it. Can I rely on my parents? They probably got a lot wrapped up in that moment. They probably got some triggers. They probably got some judgments. They've got their own stuff that's coming up. Where can I look objectively? I get in some kind of big trouble, get expelled. My parents, I might not have anyone in my social network, my family network, my school network that can be objective with me about these mistakes I made and not shame me for them.
Sure.
Or if I've got, we had a kid who became a junior firefighter, and he's like a power lifter and junior firefighter, and he's like 15, 16, and just watching this kid be celebrated in our community for like all the work he put in this for a year. I believe it's probably like he probably got some celebration from us that was unique to our community and to the reflections that he got, because it was outside of his little network and his family. So like the celebrations and the inquiry into the like mistakes, the learning opportunities is really a big deal. And I've had youth go away for years at a time and then come back and be like, hey, can I jump into a group? And I'm like, yes, of course. And then I see them and I'm like, oh my God, you're a man. What happened? And then they reach out because they know they can rely on us as a space that's not going to judge them. Yeah. God, it's the best.
Yeah, I'm so touched hearing about the work that you've brought and continue to bring in this next iteration of the work that you're bringing to youth. Just really, really deeply touched. When it comes to those weeks and the themes and their calls, I'm curious what it looks like. Is it a wandering conversation? Is it counsel? Is it bringing forth questions? Is it a lot of space for them? Is it structures and tools? All the above? Give us an idea of what one of those calls looks like.
Okay. Well, first I would encourage people to go to the membership page on our website, rootedfutures.org. So I guess I made a little graphic on that page that says what happens on these calls, you know, so people can understand like what goes on in here. But to your question, um, it's like all of those things. And so that's been the question that we've been working on for months and months and months, because we could have just sort of taken what I did with Sons Youth and just like, well, let's just do that. But like, we really knew that it needed to have a new heart in it.
Sure.
And new bones. Like, what did we learn? And I've had to be really patient bringing this thing to life, because I've wanted to go since November, you know. And I've just been like, okay, it's a group creative process. I have to relax, but I'm feeling so good about what we're doing. So the way we worked it out is, well, I guess the context is with Sons Youth, we would lead 8-week containers, 2 calls a week. And those calls would be slightly thematically different. And then we would finish that container, and then a young man could go out of it and go into another one, the next 8-week container. Or I would run, for all the 5 years with Sons Youth, I ran twice monthly free quest calls, 90 minutes. And it was just an immersion space, just to personal share and dive deep into what's up for you in the moment. We would rarely even have space to go into topics. I would always have a topic like chambered, you know, but we would rarely go into topics needing to be brought up, because what I would encourage in that space is for youth to reflect to other youth. They would become mentors in that space, reflect what they heard of value, and ask, say, in our space, we do these hand signals like sparkle fingers, which is like, I'm with you, thanks for sharing. Heck yeah, you know, that's what this means. And then if I have a question or I want to say something, I just raise a finger and be like, yeah, okay, so Trevor, and I'd say, hey, can I ask you a question? How did you feel about that? Or what do you want? And so they ask each other questions. They're mentoring each other. And it's just incredibly rich. So what we did is, for Rooted Futures, we basically, Monday calls are curriculum calls. That's like wild mind content, you know, this like human developmental framework and the tasks of each like phase of development. And that's mapped over the seasons, mapped over the quarters of the year. And it's mapped over the appropriate tasks of that developmental moment for these young men. And that's where we have the younger age bracket, 9 to 13. They'll be in a group. And then we have the older age bracket, 14 to 19, on the Monday calls. Those calls are more structured. They're more curriculum based. But we always do a welcome, agreements, and then we do some kind of breath practice. So we always do welcome, agreements, breath practice, and some kind of icebreaker, check-in, or game. Something to just like shake the dust off and get engaged in the space. And then we go into the curriculum. So everyone has a chance to speak and feel seen and feel recognized in the space and engaged. And then we'll go into the curriculum. And within the curriculum, there's different kinds of explorations. Sometimes boys will get up and go outside and do an awareness practice. Sometimes it'll be journaling. Sometimes it'll be small group breakouts. Sometimes it'll be large group open, shares about a topic, discussions. So we use Zoom in this really, it feels like a well-tooled way, where we're really using all the different aspects of Zoom to get a lot out of it. A lot of engagement, a lot of keeping it light. It is not online school. So yeah, and so we're using all those things in the curriculum day, and we're using a lot of inquiry. And so our sessions are 90 minutes. So we go through the welcome, agreements, breath, check-in, icebreaker, or game, and then we go into our curriculum and we dive as deep as we can in that time, and then we check out. So that's our Mondays. And then our Wednesdays, they're like the quest call was. It's like we're sharing any of our homework pieces, because there will be suggested journal prompts and practices during the week. And then the Wednesday calls, they can share about their homework. And then it's just a check-in space. And this is all age groups in that space, because the 9-year-olds need to be with the 19 and vice versa, to be reminded how innocent they were. And for the young ones to see what it's like to be a 19-year-old, and wow, look how he's doing it. That's cool. So there's all this circular mentoring happening. Um, and I guess I kind of want to recognize our mentors too. I don't feel like I haven't talked enough about our mentors in the training process we've gone through, and like the love, the heart, and the skill and that these men show up with as volunteers. They're just incredible, incredible. And they're background checked, and we always have a rule of a minimum 2-to-2 ratio, 2 boys and 2 mentors in a space, minimum at any time, in person or virtually. So we have a really strong safety culture. And these men are like, our lead mentors have been trained up, and they're like great space holders and facilitators. And so we keep as high of a ratio as we can of mentors to youth in all of our spaces, so they can feel the presence. It's not just like this big cattle call, a big container, and then having a couple men talking, you know. So anyway, then we go into the Wednesday call, and it's just like, what's up for you? What's happening? Everyone can say, hey, I have a withhold, and they can share something good, bad, ugly, a charge with someone else. It's like a men's circle, you know. It's like, and there will be prompting with that that's congruent with the curriculum, the season, the tasks. But it's also just a space for them to be like, hey, I got this happening at home. I'm struggling with this. I'm feeling this. Hey, let's play a game. Like, we play group storytelling games where everyone tells a part of a story.
Oh
You know, we've got these deep toolboxes that we've made of all these games that are aligned with each week. And so, like, group storytelling game, telling a fantastical story that doesn't make logical sense. I think most people would be amazed at how fun that is for older teenage boys, like how much joy comes into their being, because they're like, I can do whatever I want, and I can be funny, and I can like use my imagination, and like they get engaged with that. It is like palpably visceral and physical, and we're often doing physical practices on our calls, getting up and moving around, or doing things, you know, some physical practice, so we're not just stale the whole time. But yeah, the Wednesday calls are space holding, circle up calls. The Monday calls are more curriculum. Then we have the parents containers, and we have the hearth calls, which is the whole community. And then we have what's called the forge, and that's our specialty calls. And that's like, I have a mentor who wants to run an NVC container for 6 weeks, nonviolent communication. And that's going to be on Sundays weekly, for example. And he just runs that, and that's free. That's included in the membership. So all of this is a monthly subscription, basically. Families sign up. We provide scholarships for families who can't afford it, and different sliding scale pricing. Or I have a mentor who wants to do a Qigong thing, and it's going to be like a Qigong class weekly. So there's all kind. We have a Dungeons and Dragons group that's going to be launching pretty soon. So our specialty program is kind of like this fluctuating, always changing landscape for enrichment and engagement and playfulness. So yeah, that's like the main, I guess the only other element to talk about is like we use technology to stay connected. So we have like group chats for parents and mentors, for youth and mentors, and then for mentors by themselves. So we can all really stay connected in between the calls, which just feels super, super important. And share memes and stuff.
Yeah. Trevor, I'm just incredibly inspired by what you're sharing, and incredibly touched. To support the youth, to support families, to really to hold the next generation in these, yeah, very turbulent years of adolescence, and disorientation, and giving the youth somewhere to orient that's authentic and within themselves, that's sourced from their intrinsic knowing and discovery. Yeah, just incredibly touched. You know, as you're talking, I'm having like memories of all these stories and experiences I've had with youth, and
Hmm.
um, everything from, last summer, a youth talking about romance and how technology has like deeply disrupted his desire. Um, and the sense of like aloofness that can happen through technology and his desire for real connection. And I was blown away, completely blown away by the beauty and nobility of this young man's desire of like, oh, it's a really, I don't know the word, complicated world to navigate. And it feels like the quote unquote rules of even something like romance are constantly changing, constantly changing. So, yeah, I'm just really touched, really moved by everything that you're up to. Yeah,
Thanks, Darren.
yeah.
I'm really happy to share that, because we've talked about it, but it's great to really share the insides of the program,
Mm.
of what it's become over time,
Mhm.
and what we're launching into. I mean, we're just getting this going. We've gotten a little bit of funding, a few donors who are like, I want to put gas in your tank, and we've gotten a few people, but like, if people are inspired by this, please get in touch and let us know how you want to support this mission, because we to provide scholarships and sliding scale pricing to families, because a lot need it. Um, that was one of the biggest inhibitors in the past, was just funding, just paying myself, for these other organizations. So we're trying to do it right. We're trying to people, it costs money. And if we want people to support us with donations and grants and all these kind of things to support this work, so that we can deliver it in the best way.
Mhm. And where can people find more about the work?
Yeah. Instagram, Rooted Futures Mentoring, um, Trevor Spring on Instagram, or rootedfutures.org. Um, I think we've been working on the website, and we've been in it for the last month, and it feels really good. We really just launched the timing's great, because we really just launched the website a few days ago, and want to just encourage people to go there, excuse me, and explore the membership page a bit, explore the kind of guts of our program is called the Pathmaker program. The Monday calls are called Path calls. And so what's that 4 quarters of the year Pathmaker program about? That's our curriculum, is the Pathmaker program. And the Wednesday calls are the Grove calls, because the Grove is where everybody meets up. And so, yeah, I'd say check it out on the website, take a look. And we've got links there where you should just be able to schedule an easy call with me and get on my schedule, or one of the other guys that are on the team, and just have a conversation. I'm super motivated to just connect with the right people, that's one of the other things coming out of these other partnerships that I was in, um, with Boys to Men and then Sons Youth, coming into this space. I'm really excited about connecting with the people who are really congruent with me and with us. And who are those people, because they're different than the past associations and partnerships and organizations. And so, just having the opportunity to really start connecting with our people, with the people who want to support us, who um, are inspired to become mentors, parents who are inspired to share this with other parents, boys. And we've had a lot of boys who are like 18 who come in, who have found us and we're like, I want to do that. And they come in, and this one kid who's a mentor, he's not a kid anymore, he's 21. And he came in and he did 5 8-week cohorts in a row.
Wow.
5 in a row. And was just like, he's so gung-ho. He's so into what we're doing and our culture. and how we function. And I'm like, this kid is going to be a better mentor than I've ever been, because he's like growing up in it. So if young men are inspired by this, like, please get in touch with us, which should be really, if we made the website right, it should be really easy to get in touch with us and or make a donation or get in touch with us about supporting us financially or getting a scholarship for your family or registering for programs or becoming a mentor. All of it should be pretty easy. So, yeah, we're available for those conversations.
Mm.
That's
And
the biggest thing going right now.
yeah, and remind me again when the first cohort is scheduled to start.
So it starts April 7th. But we know this is going to be, it's only 3 weeks away. So then whenever this podcast launches,
Yeah.
you know, it starts April 7th, but we have rolling enrollment.
Okay.
And so we know that, that we're running basically the condensed curriculum of the remainder of this quarter. And then we'll go into our full summer curriculum, so we're just kind of going to be touching on some of the curriculum for the rest of this quarter. It's kind of like our beta period through till the summer. And then June, we're really like launching full on into our first full quarter, but we have rolling enrollment throughout the year. So any moment young men can join in and jump into our containers. Parents can jump in on support calls. And I want to encourage parents to also realize how much support is here.
Yeah.
We're not therapists. This isn't therapy containers. It's not therapy, but it's incredibly therapeutic to be in spaces that function the way our spaces function. To have space to feel really heard and seen and really appreciated and reflected. And yeah, I think it's really healing stuff. It's a really healing space to be in.
Well, to all the listeners out there, please check it out. Check out what Trevor's up to. I look forward to weaving in a little bit closer with you and what you're up to, and it's not infrequent that people reach out to me about youth stuff, and in the past I've sent them towards you, and I look forward to continuing to do that. And seeing what type of collaboration lines up down the road.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest things. We've got like all these mentors who are like, oh, put me in, coach. Like, let's do it, and they're so excited to contribute. We're like, we just need to get it really built right this time. We're not just going to shoot and then try to build it as we're running it.
For sure.
And then these partnerships with like the canoe expeditions, and, working with you, it's like, as soon as we get this thing launched and stable and going, I'd love to, just figure out how we can start doing some simple, slow, out in nature, humble things and see what comes out of it. Because I just think there's so much that you bring to the table, being with all of your gifts and experience and wisdom, and to what happens when we put our containers together. It's like, it just feels like a really rooted future to start laying these roots. Because what does that look like? What does a rooted future look like? I guess I could kind of end with this. I like talking about like, what does like success in our program look like? Because some moms have asked me that, like, what does it look like if my boy's like successful in your program? Like, he's sharing openly with you about his emotional states and his like struggles and joys. He knows how to regulate his nervous system. He has a fairly healthy relationship to his technology and his sleep cycles and his literal nourishment, like how he's feeding himself, and his deeper nourishment of like the things he's doing and engaging in life that are meaningful to him. And he knows how to reach out for connection and like make connection or ask for help when he needs it, because he has that kind of self-awareness. And he probably spends more time outdoors than he did previously. Yeah, so having that embodied self-awareness, I would say, is like, that's what success looks like in this framework. So there's so many ways towards that and towards that outcome. And so I look forward to creating some overlap with you and all the people who are listening to this and interested or intrigued. Please get in touch.
Yeah, those markers of success, man, they're applicable to any age. You know?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably why they ring so true and so necessary.
Yeah, and this is about, like I think a lot of people will hear those things and go, God, I really want that for my son. And I think a lot of that is like, I really want that for myself. And I might not get all the way there, but I really want that for my son.
Yeah.
So again, taking it back, I want to encourage parents to own it for themselves and do their own looking inward, resource themselves with community and connection and people who can hold space. And and that really does ripple out to the boys in such huge ways.
Mm-hmm. Huge. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks again for making the time, Trevor, to be on the Return podcast. And there's so much that was opened up by the things that you shared, that, are like treasure chests for people to open up and consider, and explore more deeply, myself included. So just thank you for all the gifts and gems that you've shared today.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Super honored, Darren. Love that you're doing a podcast. I love being in this space with you. I love just having these conversations anyway.
Yeah.
But now we're doing it recording and able to share some of it externally. It's really sweet. So thank you for inviting me in.
Yeah, brother. Well, we'll talk soon.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, brother.